Well, hello everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Argent Towers on this glorious autumnal day. It's absolutely leathering it down outside. I'm Michael Bailey with Paddy Davitt, as always, to look back on the top lines to come out of Colney at Norwich City's pre-match press conference ahead of their trip to Sheffield United on Saturday. Sometimes, Paddy, you maybe wonder what's the best place to start, this, that and the other. I think today it's pretty clear where we should start, and that is the news Nelson Oliveira is going to be out until probably the next international break.
Yeah, I think Farker said optimistically 12 days, but then he qualified it later on to me saying probably not this side of the international break, which is a little bit longer than 12 days, but it's the games he misses, so, tick them off. That's Saturday, Sheffield United, that's the midweek League Cup tie, Brentford, who they've got the following weekend, Bristol City, I think, Middlesbrough and Reading. Big blow.
Middlesbrough.
Yeah, and Reading, yeah. Obviously club he was linked with quite heavily, so yeah, it is what it is. Groin injury, they've had it scanned yesterday, Thursday, and it's over to you, Cameron Jerome, I think, for tomorrow, reading between the lines. So it is a big blow because despite speculation on his future, he stayed and, okay, didn't score midweek, but he has looked a man in prolific form. So, but then again, that seems to be par for the course this season with Norwich, injuries and how you deal with them. So I'm sure Jerome's jumping at a bit. As he's had to defer himself, had an injury, so he had to sit out a week or two. I think Marley Watkins, you asked him about Marley Watkins, I think he'll be coming back and I can see him starting tomorrow as well. So it's not desperate, but it's for a team who needs to score goals to have probably your best and finest strike option on the sidelines for the foreseeable. It's not good.
Yeah, it's a shame about the Reading game. I twigged that he'd missed that one because that's obviously going to be a little bit of interesting dynamic in that one, given what went on the summer. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's because of all the tweets I got over the course of the summer transfer. One or two from Reading fans. Yeah, they were getting quite busy. Okay. And it's his groin he's done, isn't it? Which, if we distill it, was the same injury he had, I think, when Norwich went to Villa and Nelson didn't start and he came on and kind of played through it. So yeah. I guess there's a possibility this is the same injury that he's not really properly got over.
Maybe, yeah. Heavy workload as well. He's been away with his country. I know he didn't play massive amounts of minutes for Portugal, but I'm sure he would have been keen to impress over there. And, that is the downside, I suppose, of the Championship. We're talking a lot about Alex Tettey and will his body hold up, and Wes Houlan as well, given his age, and that is the nature of the beast, I'm afraid. You play every 3 days as they are at the minute. It's test of mind and body. Unfortunately, Nelson is the one who's, for the foreseeable future, they're going to be without. Yeah,
they'll definitely miss him, of course. Let us know where you're watching from. If you've got any questions you want to put to us, then go for that, and we'll try and do our best to answer them over the next 10-15 minutes or so here on Facebook Live, and you'll be able to listen to it all again on the PinkUn podcast too, and just make sure I cover all my bases there. We did get to speak to Alex Tettey, who has probably been the subject of a lot of chatter since Burton, talking about load, talking about whether he can manage all these games, and really wanting him. I mean, to me, he is a key piece of the jigsaw going to Bramall Lane. Yeah. Just speaking to him today, he seemed pretty optimistic that he's going to be fine. The load in that respect isn't too much of an issue. Probably helped by the fact that he's retired from international football and got 2 weeks off.
Well, that's a massive help, isn't it? He said himself, he'd have been schlepping over to Norway or wherever Norway were away, one of the fixtures, playing 2 games in close proximity, training as well. And it's been proven, and he himself says his body cannot handle that load now, allied to the demands of the Championship. And Farker himself said he trained very well this morning, Friday morning, and the guy himself said he's got no problem with his knee at present. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's him in the side tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, it's good. And, I mean, he and himself said it was of a benefit to be back at the training ground for 2 weeks. When we were asking Daniel Farker about Marley Watkins, he kind of acknowledged the fact that actually, during that international break, Daniel wanted to go with the players who were around. If you were out and we weren't going to get a chance to work with you, that put you at a disadvantage, which is kind of why Marley Watkins found himself outside the 18 for the last 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, he said 12 days he was away, and in that time, given what the context was at that period, just off the back of Aston Villa, off the back of Millwall particularly, and Farker clearly needed to feel he had to drill the lads he had available on the training pitches at Colney, so it isn't a huge surprise. And who are the other two who've missed out? Russell Martin and Stephen Naismith, similar. okay, they've been around it, so they know what it's all about. But then again, this is a new coach and a new way of doing things, and it looks like he's made that call that the guys who went away on international duty, who he felt he could do without, he's gone without for the 2 home games. But certainly, obviously, Oliveira out would change it slightly for me tomorrow. And I think the way he then went on to talk about Watkins, it was almost okay, well, we need to bring him back into the fold tomorrow. Maybe a slight change of shape, maybe even Grant Hanley. I think tomorrow I can.
Yeah, you
I can
asked
see
him
a
about
scenario.
that, didn't you?
Yeah. I could just see. I mean, Sheffield United apparently play 3 at the back, 5 in midfield. So why not match him up and go Hanley closer, Zimmerman? It's not a case of you have to then pull out a Zimmerman. I think who it would be, and that would be unfortunate for the lad as he's played in the back line. I've had 2 clean sheets, but then you don't have to in a 3. You know, you slot Hanley back in there. We know clearly. Look at the stats. Sheffield United 4 wins on the spin.
Yeah.
They've conceded 1 goal in 3 home games. They've not dropped a point at Bramall Lane this season. Hungry, Farker talked about it. Intensity, tempo, fighting for second balls. Seems to me tailor-made for a Grant Hanley tomorrow. Get him in there. He's been around it long enough now. They're going to come under pressure. There are going to be balls coming into their box. That's what he was bought for. Let's see him in the side tomorrow.
Spot on. Let's go through some of your comments, shall we? Ross Lemon, worried now Oliveira is injured. Sheffield will be top opposition. Craig Brown, time for Grant Hanley to play. Drop Zimmerman. Hanley is bigger and will win headers. Closer and Hanley, perfect partnership surely. I guess if that was a 2, but maybe if you've got a 3, you've got room for all 3 then, I guess, haven't you?
Yeah,
so stuck no one in there. Gary Marshall-Nichols, are we good enough to go there and park the bus on Saturday? Well, defensively, I do have a bit of an issue with this, to be honest. I know they picked up 2 clean sheets, but ultimately that clean sheet against Burton, you know, if you could have both just sat at other ends of the pitch and it would probably finish 0-0 and that would have been that. Am I being a bit harsh?
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair comment. I don't think there was too much ambition shown by Burton. But still, you've got to go out and be, as Farker himself again referenced today, disappointed that game didn't have an end product to it. But that's conceivably the type of game you then get frustrated at one end of the pitch and then you concede a sloppy set piece, which we've seen all too often, unfortunately, this season already, and you lose the game 1-0. So the fact that it was a draw, then I think that is a good sign. You know, that okay, it wasn't working at the top end of the pitch, but they didn't throw it away at the other end of the pitch. So, but don't draw a parallel between Burton and Birmingham at home with Sheffield United away. This will be Villa, Millwall, and then some again, because these are at the top end of the table, full of confidence, come up from League One. Norwich know what that feels like. They've got all that momentum. They've harnessed it. I fear for Norwich tomorrow. I think it's going to be another tough shift on the road.
There was an interesting line from Daniel Farker, I thought, where he, conversely to Burton, who he wasn't, you know, he was aware that they'd been done 5-0 at Leeds and that it was going to be really tough for them on the back of it. He did actually acknowledge the fact that Sheffield United have had a good run of it, and maybe he even mentioned the slight. Did he actually use the word complacency? I can't remember, but he almost said a little bit complacent in terms of, you know, maybe ultimately thinking they're better than they are, I suppose. You know, he's sort of maybe I'm paraphrasing him a little bit, but I always find it interesting when managers come out and actually say that, because you wonder how things will be taken. But
I wouldn't rely on them being too complacent. I'm very impressed with this guy Wilder. The more I see of him,
it's his club as well.
Looks a proper manager, and he's got that set of players playing for him. And again, we say it very often, pound for pound, you probably take Norwich's players, but as a unit and a fighting force, they look very good. And he's an impressive character. So no, there'll be no complacency from them tomorrow.
And they are going to play it slightly. I mean, I myself are guilty of it, drawing a lot of comparisons to having 2 sides kind of just run over Norwich in terms of their energy. But the way Millwall went about it will be pretty different to how Sheffield United will do it. Sheffield United much more on the front foot, pressing a lot higher up the pitch and a lot more active, rather than Millwall, who were inviting Norwich a lot more on, I would say, and then trying to hit over the top.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'll be brutally honest. I'm not au fait with how Sheffield United have gone about it. If that's how they play, then so be it. But ultimately, however you break it down, it'll be balls into Norwich's box, and can they deal with it? And so far on the road, they haven't. Let's be brutally honest about it. But as I say, in the interim, they've signed Hanley. Close has come back, and they've kept 2 clean sheets. So if you look on the positive, then you would think, and Farker himself alluded to this, he feels they've plateaued a little bit now in terms of the fluctuations. You know, it isn't win, loss, win. You know, they look like they're moving in the right direction, but as I said to him tomorrow, that's an acid test for me. If they go to Bramall Lane, for all the reasons we've already stated, and come away with a positive result, that is, for me, in its own way, a bigger statement than what they've done at Carrow in the last 2 games.
Which is interesting. Craig Brown says must keep another clean sheet against Sheffield United. So I guess by that token, people would take a 0-0 draw as a line of progress, which I guess we'd have to, given they conceded 8 goals in their last 2 away games. It would be some form of progress. Lorne Haggis Smybert, what a great name that is, Lorne. He's got his tin hat on for Sheffield United, which there should be a few Norwich defenders who'll maybe do that as well. Just a quick word, there's an account here that says Michael Bailey's beard. Hello, gentlemen. Well, if you go to the Norwich City Fans Social Club, they are running an auction as to whether the beard stays or goes, so you can vote and donate towards the Community Sports Foundation if you think the beard should stay or go. Do you have any preference, Pad?
A bit bored of it by now, mate. If I'm
You
brutally
are.
honest, I'm a bit bored of
You're
it.
bored
The
of it.
fascination with your beard.
I
mate.
know.
But it's a good cause, so by all means, you know.
People don't listen to what I say anymore. They just go, God, you've got a beard.
No, it's your USP now, mate.
Yeah, something like that. Let's have a look. Dougal McCormack. Would you consider draw a positive result, which is kind of what we're touching on? So, would you take that?
Yeah, I'd take that. Yeah, as I say, they haven't dropped a point at home all season. In fact, they've only let 1 goal in at home all season in the league. Yeah, to me, that would be a very good result. I'd sign for that now. With this pen.
Yeah, do it. Here's one, Craig Brown again. Jerome needs to score for his confidence. Will help us keep the ball, which we failed to do against Millwall. I mean, certainly if we have Jerome that runs, Harry's holds play up, he can be so useful. Yeah. We haven't seen that Jerome all season yet, have we? Really?
No,
leading question.
No, I don't think we have really. I mean, the character that he is, I think he would be. No, I think I said that. Was it Millwall? Did he start Millwall or was it Oliveira? No, I think it was Oliveira, wasn't it? But one of the games where he had to play second fiddle, I thought he'd have really grasped the nettle and he didn't. So if you're Cameron Jerome, then clearly you've had to sit on your hands and watch Oliveira basically scoring the goals, getting the headlines. If I was him, you'd think he'd want to respond tomorrow. And I think for this game, as we said at the start, I'm more concerned about Oliveira not being available for Middlesbrough and Reading, but I think for this game, the nature of it, I think there's an argument you might be better suited to have Jerome leading the line tomorrow because it will be chasing lost causes, occupying centre-backs, running the channels, plenty of energy and industry and endeavour, and that's one thing you can't criticise Jerome for more often than not. Okay, yes, we all know inside the box there's sometimes a worrying lack of composure, that's putting it diplomatically. But certainly you would never question his work rate and his team ethic. So I don't think it's the worst scenario that Oliveira's missing tomorrow, but over the piece, then yeah, you would have Oliveira over Jerome for a goal-scoring threat all day long, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Keelan Noble, I'm going to say. Sorry if I've said that wrong, Keelan. I've lost it again now. What did it say? 2 up front. Do you see Farke trying 2 up front on Saturday? I mean, obviously we can't play Oliveira and Jerome.
No, I can see 3-5-2 with Jerome and Marley Watkins if he doesn't want to go with Josh Murphy. Just as I say, you're matching up Sheffield United, so that's a bonus. Well, that's a positive going that route, and you get Hanley in the side, and not to the detriment of Zimmerman or closer. Maybe Steeperman one wing back, Pinto the other, Tettey in the middle. And then you get the balance right with your technical midfield players, maybe Harrison, Reed, Tribal again, although that might be a stretch to play him 3 times in a week as he's getting to grips with A, his fitness, and B, English football. But that just looks to me a better balanced side going to Sheffield United rather than, cramming your midfield with too many technically gifted players and they get overrun, just like at Millwall, just like at Aston Villa. Surely the penny has dropped now, and if you're going away to a side who are in the ascendant and you know how they're going to play and you know it's going to be win the battle first before any technical ability comes to the fore, then don't handicap yourselves by going with Maddison, Houlihan, Tribal, Reed, Josh Murphy to an extent. I'd like personally to see Wiltshire in there as well tomorrow. Oh,
that's interesting you mentioned that. Craig Brown says time for Wiltshire to play again. He was brilliant the other night. Farke needs to make use of him on the right wing. I mean, he is a player who does seem to be grasping the chances that he's getting, and the only time when he's maybe there's been question marks is when he played at right back. I mean, short of that,
that's Fulham, wasn't
right
it?
wing back.
Fulham, he was. Well, even the Fulham game, perfect case in point. Going forward, he was one of Norwich's best threats, but going the other way, he was culpable partially for the goal they scored, I recall. No, I mean, if we think the game's going to be Sheffield United on the front foot, pushing Norwich back, to have Wiltshire as a pacey option, maybe even Josh Murphy plus Marley Watkins, yeah, I like the look of that. And as I say, but the balance has to be right in the centre of the park, because that's, as Norwich have found to their cost, where a lot of these championship games are won and lost. You know, if you lose the battle in there, then it's always going to be a very tough afternoon.
Anything else we need to talk about? Alex Tettey spoke a little bit about the summer transfer window, didn't he? He was quite candidly about that, and you know, clearly there was an element of him that wondered what else, you know, might be there for him, especially if he wasn't going to feature here. And for me, I know he was probably not quite as straightforward in his answer, but for me, once that's sorted and you know where you are, that then next 3 months must be so much more easier. And you know, probably no coincidence, maybe. I don't know, maybe it is, but he has played the last 2 games and had a real impact in that, and hopefully he's going to carry on doing that. So, but he is out of contract at the end of the season as well, isn't he? So yeah, it's an interesting dynamic.
But I think again, we're talking about the character of these players. He doesn't strike me as one who's already thinking, well, I'm possibly not a part of this now, and I'm not going to be here beyond the end of this season. I won't put my shoulder to the wheel. I think he's the sort of character who, if he's given an opportunity, and he has been this past week, you will get the maximum out of him. And they need him. They definitely need him. To reiterate what I just said a little while earlier there, Villa, Millwall, you know, all the worst games this season, Norwich have been second best in that key central area of the pitch, and there's almost this conflict between wanting to be good on the ball and being as good without the ball, and quite clearly Tettey in that side makes Norwich better without the ball. Okay, you can have a debate all day long about are they better with him on the ball? Probably not, but as we say, you know, they've been out of games before the game have even got underway. Millwall, you know, 2 or 3 down after 20 minutes, game gone. Villa, game gone by half time. They need to be in the game. They need to stick in these, particularly away from home. You need to be in the game at 60 minutes, 75 minutes. Then you can change it in a more offensive fashion. But if the horse is already bolted, to use that phrase, then you know it's another fruitless afternoon, isn't it?
It's so interesting though that they did that at Fulham, didn't they? They did really dig it out, and I know they were behind, but they made sure I remember praising them for it, not conceding that second goal.
Yeah.
So they obviously can do it. We'll see how they get there. Right, the only real remaining question here to answer is predictions. Everyone's asking for prediction, Pad, but you know, we could save it for tomorrow morning's show.
Good shout, mate.
Should we do that?
Good shout. Let's do it.
Well, also, I'd like to see them play a 3-4-3 tomorrow. So we'll have a little team formation discussion maybe tomorrow. But me, Pad and Dave Freezer all on our way to Bramall Lane on Saturday to take in the action. Have a safe trip if you're going to. We'll be with the coaches before they leave to do our now familiar Matchday Live opening show, whatever. We haven't really given it a name, but it'll be great, obviously. So join us there. That will be live on this very PinkUn Facebook page, and you'll be able to catch it on YouTube later in the morning too, all being well. So keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, thank you very much, Pad. Thanks all for watching, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks to those for listening as well on the PinkUn podcast, and we'll see you tomorrow morning on our way to Bramall Lane. I've never been. I'm excited. See you then. Bye.